Hey, you wanna watch some TV or something?
Skip it. Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Nothing but foul language and toilet humor.
I'm disgusted and repulsed and I can't look away.
I need these things! I need these things! Tell me, do you wanna go? We're stopping in on the color line.
Oh, no way, Jose.
This just in, go to hell!
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Hello, friends and listeners. You got Watch Skip Plus in your ears and your eyeballs. We are a movie review podcast with a lifestyle twist, and that twist is that after a review of a new and theatrical streaming movie, we give you a bonus review, and that can be on basically anything. I've talked about skincare, etc., and that's just anything that struck our fancy in the last week. I'm Cupcake, also known as Jose. I'm joined by my amazing co-host, WillDABeast, Mike, who has a fancy new virtual background. Look at that.
Woohoo.
How are you, Mike?
Hey, I'm alive. I'm a little tired after 20 films from Sundance this week.
Yeah, actually, both of you, and when I say both of you, I'm talking about our guest who I'm about to introduce, have had long Saturday nights. We're recording early in the morning here. But joining us today, we have Lucky Brian. Brian, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, I did have a long night and get to sleep till probably like 2:30 in the morning. Coming to you from Atlantic City in New Jersey, at the Ocean Casino Resort. Give them a plug because it's my favorite spot and they always take care of me. So yeah, I'm just glad to be awake. Got my coffee here. I'm all ready to talk some movies, man.
I think we all have our coffee mugs, okay? So, Brian, actually, you've been on our show before. You guested on Samaritan, the Sylvester Stallone superhero Prime movie. You also guested on Hellraiser, and you guested on Sick, which we did a Watch Skip Singular on, and I'm just going to spoil it now. Brian was really the only one that I've seen say this about Sick. Sick was basically Kevin Williamson's Friday the 13th. And he redid it basically with a COVID bent to it. And Brian remarked on that during our recording of Sick. I didn't even catch it when I had seen it. And then the minute he said it, I was like, oh my God, her name is Pamela. His name is Jason, the father. They're pissed off because they think she gave him COVID or whatever. I have yet to see a review pick up on that. I'm sure it exists, but I'm just saying major media, they were just like, oh, predictable COVID slasher or whatever.
Oh, yeah. They
totally missed the Friday the 13th. Totally missed it. But actually, there is a very, very weird connection with the film that we are reviewing, which I'm going to let Mike introduce. What are we reviewing, Mike?
Companion.
Yes. There is a weird connection, Brian. So I guess you were fated to guest on this show because Companion is produced by the guy who directed Barbarian. Okay. But the director of photography is Eli Bourne, who also shot Hellraiser.
Nice.
Pretty cool, right?
And Mark Menchaca was also in Sick.
That's right. That's the other connection, which I was like, oh my God, it's Mark Menchaca, an actor who shows up in this film as well. So let's just jump into it. We are reviewing Companion. As I mentioned before, it's produced by comedian, actor, writer, producer Zach Kreger. Many of you may know him. Actually, he's local. He was born in Arlington, Virginia. I'm in Maryland. But he founded The Whitest Kids You Know, which I feel like is a takeoff of Hairspray, the whitest, I think there's a song in there like The Richest Kids You Know or The Whitest Kids You Know or something like that. But it was a comedy troupe basically. And then he and one of the members, I believe his name is Tyler Moore, they wrote and directed a film called Miss March, which was kind of like this, sex comedy thing where these two guys decide they're going to take a road trip to meet their favorite Playboy pictorial lady, and it is hysterical. Like, I laughed my ass off. And then Kreger directed Barbarian, which we did review. That was absolutely amazing. I think it caught everybody off guard. Fantastic. Now, he produced this. I thought he directed this. I will say, before I segue to the rest of Below the Line, Kreger is doing a new film called, I think it's called like Weaponized or something like that. Very hush hush, very top secret. And he is now officially attached to a Resident Evil reboot. So pretty exciting, I think. I wonder if he's going to put like some of his comedy into Resident Evil. I don't know that it lends itself to comedy, but anyway, our director is Drew Hancock. This is his directorial debut. He hails from Omaha, Nevada. Many of you may know him. He's directed segments for Jimmy Kimmel. I think we all know who that is. As well as videos for Tenacious D, the Jack Black fronted group. I think they're on a hiatus because his partner said something kind of crazy about the assassination attempt on Trump. Wah, wah. But Hancock is primarily known for a couple things. He EP'd and was a staff writer on Blue Mountain State, which was one of my favorite comedy shows ever. That show cracked me the fuck up. He also created and wrote My Dead Ex and something called Mr. Pickles. I don't know what that is.
Hilarious. It's an Adult Swim, like raunchy, weird cartoon about this like dog that screams metal music. It's awesome.
Okay, wow. I think I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. He also wrote this. As I mentioned, our DP is Eli Bourne, who shot Hellraiser. He's actually not a stranger to genre. One of his films that he shot was something called Super Dark Times. If you have not seen this, it is massively depressing and really, really tense to watch, but definitely check that out. He lends that film. We talked about Hellraiser. We talked about, I'm going to mention 2023's The Boogeyman, which not coincidentally also stars Sophie Thatcher, who is a star in this. And then he has also shot music videos for people like Jack White, Iggy Azalea, something called BB Rexa. I don't know. Anyway,
he's a pop star, like a wannabe Britney Spears.
Oh, well, there you go. Got it. And then our music is by, I hope I get this, Hrishikesh Hirway. He is an American musician, producer, and podcast television host. So, yay, podcast brethren. He created the podcast Song Exploder, which I think ended up as a Netflix show. And that is where artists come on to talk about their hits and how they were created and how they came up with the music for it. He also hosted the West Wing Weekly podcast, which I know a lot of people are huge fans of. He scored the Netflix television show Everything Sucks. Love that title. And the films Our Nixon and Save the Date. One fun fact, he has made 4 albums under the name The 1 AM Radio and has a side project with Lakeith Stanfield, who's a great actor, called The Moors. And I believe that's like a hip hop album. So anyway, Brian, what did you think of Barbarian and Zach Kreger?
Oh, I love Barbarian. I mean, it was kind of like a little tour de force. I didn't catch it in theaters. I kind of stayed away from it. And then once it came to streaming, I think it was on Shudder or AMC. I think
HBO Max, something like everywhere.
Max.
It was everywhere.
Yes, it was everywhere. I heard I heard the buzz about it through our group, but I intentionally kind of stayed away as one of those things where it's like, I'm going to let the hype die down. It's going to get out of theaters. And then I'm going to just go into it early morning, Sunday watch and go through it. And I loved it. I thought it was, an awesome, awesome film. And it was that, it's brutal. It's good. It's right in my wheelhouse of an early morning watch on a Sunday. That's my go-to on it. Early, instead of recording a podcast like we are right now, I'd be, if I was at home, watching something brutal and something nasty while everybody else is still sleeping. So yeah, that's definitely good. It's a high recommend.
Any experience Any experience with Drew Hancock's other stuff like Blue Mountain State or Mr. Pickles?
No, I haven't. Although Mr. Pickles is on my list now. That just
Nice.
sounds too awesome not to binge.
It's fun. It's a
Yeah.
demon infested dog that screams metal music, and it's like little 10 to 12-minute shorts. It's totally meant
Perfect.
for stoners on Adult Swim. But he also did a TV show. He wrote a TV show I watched called Suburgatory. He was a writer.
Oh,
on
that's
that.
right. I forgot about that. Very good.
Yeah, I used to love that.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Drew Hancock before we move on, Mike, to the cast?
I think that he's a talented writer. I think that he has done a lot of fun stuff. And it kind of shows with Companion. I think we'll talk more about his skills as a writer.
Sweet. On to you with the cast. Who do we got in this film?
Okay, so let's go to our leads. First and foremost, let's talk about Sophie Thatcher. She's kind of a new it girl. She most recently was in Heretic, which for people like me in Utah was a big hit. It was in theaters forever here, and people ate that movie up. It's about Mormon missionaries that end up at the wrong guy's door who tries to show them how wrong what they're doing is. Really cool movie. She's really awesome in that. She was also in a TV show or a TV movie called Prospect, I believe. I didn't see it, but I've heard good things. She's also, I think she mostly got famous from Yellow Jackets, another TV show I haven't seen, but a lot of people love. And then The Boogeyman, which we talked about, she was also in that. And she had a role in Maxine as well. So she's an up-and-comer. In the last 3 or 4 years, she seems to be popping up everywhere. I really think that she's going to make a name for herself. Totally like her a lot.
She's gorgeous. She also has some stage credits too. She's been in like Seussical, The Secret Garden. She played the young Reagan on the Exorcist TV show. And she was on Book of Boba Fett. Although I have written here in my notes Boba Feet. So I don't know why that. Anyway, next actor.
Different
we can
movies.
go.
Different movies.
We can go right on. We can go right on to a nepo baby. Let's go to Jack Quaid, who is the is the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan, and he looks like an amalgamation of the two of them. Completely.
It's scary.
Oh yeah.
With a
He looks
huge
like
head.
a blended of them. Yep.
His head has never looked this big in a movie though. I was perplexed. I was like, has it always been that big? Anyway, you don't like Jack Quaid from Scream. Why?
Again, he's a nepo baby. I think he's okay as an actor. At first I saw him was in Hunger Games. I think that was before the fame hit. Then Scream, Logan Lucky, and he just keeps popping up in things. And I'm not a big fan of him. I think that he's semi-talented, but I don't like his look. He hasn't wowed me yet. I'm waiting for him to wow me, just like the star of Hitman hasn't wowed you yet. I'm not wowed by Jack Quaid. I think he's just a nepo baby who is getting roles because of his mama and daddy. I guess he's kind of attractive, but I don't think he has much of a range.
I think he's attractive. I like the Dennis Quaid smile, but do you watch The Boys on Prime Video? He's actually quite good in that.
I watched the first season, but again, I just don't like him. I mean, maybe I'm just biased. I think he's one note, and he's kind of the downfall for this movie for me. He's the one thing, again, when he shows up, I'm just like, oh man.
Spoiler alert. But he just to add to this too, and then I'm going to ask Brian about this. He started on Sasquatch sketch comedy, and so his roots really as an actor appear to be in comedy. He's in a lot of things that are either darkly comic or comedic. He's also done voice acting, Star Trek Lower Decks, Solar Opposites, My Adventures with Superman. Brian, how do you feel about well, first of all, Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid? What do you think about those two?
So Sophie is definitely an upcoming it girl. I mean, she's just doing really well. I love her in this. I think she does a great job. Quaid, I'm not as down as Mike is. I think he's okay. I enjoy him on The Boys. And I didn't mind him in Scream. I thought he did an okay job with that. And spoiler alert for that with the it's like he's when they did a callback to him, I almost thought he was going to come back in the next was it Scream 7 where it's his family. I thought they were going to try to pull some kind of weird thing where he was going to come out too. But I don't hate him like Mike does. I think yes, he is one note a lot, but what he does, I think he does well enough that it doesn't grate on me yet. if he continues to keep doing the same shtick, it's going to get old. He needs to mix it up a little bit, I think. But, he's striking while the iron's hot. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he's a Nepo baby. He got his, foot in the door, but he's doing what's bringing him in the cash. So from a business perspective, he's doing it right. But, I think for longevity, he's got to switch it up, do something that's actually super serious. And I mean, it is what it is. Like, I can't say that I wouldn't do that, for a career if they're handing me checks. I think maybe in a couple years, he'll do something that's, a little bit more serious and, so not super high on him, but, not full on, like, detestment. Like,
Well, since
Don't
we've used,
detest him.
Since-
He's just mid.
Yeah.
since we've used the phrase and everybody said it and I haven't said it, I'll just say it. Nepo baby. Okay, who else we got in the cast?
Okay, we've got Lucas Gage, a very attractive young actor who I first saw in Euphoria, White Lotus, American Vandal. He was kind of in TV for a while, but then he popped up in The Last Smile 2, which is really where I think his star started to shine. His scene in Smile 2 is one of the best scenes in the movie, and I think that he's really shows that he has range, and as somebody who's up and coming, I definitely think with his looks, his charm, and his ability to act, I think he's definitely going to go places. And right now he's doing just a lot of movies like this, little comedies, horror films, and then TV. I think he's somebody to look out for sure. What about you, Cupcake?
I was gonna say, don't forget that he was in How to Blow Up a Pipeline, which is pretty. That movie was weirdly intense. He was also in Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal, which is great, and Fargo as well. He guested on that. But I just kind of want to repeat the story about him because when he was on Euphoria and White Lotus, but he wasn't really booking jobs. And then this story about him sort of went legion. He was auditioning for a director over Zoom. Did you guys hear about this? He was auditioning for a director over Zoom. The director thought he had muted the Zoom. And while Gage was standing on the Zoom, the director was like, my God, look at this apartment he's in, just living in squalor or whatever. But he had not like muted it. What? And so Gage kind of like pops on and he was like, hey, you know what? If you give me this role, I promise you, I'll move to a better place or whatever. And that story went legion. And then suddenly he started cropping up in a lot of things. So Good on him anyway. Any experience with Lucas Gage, Brian?
No, it was Roadhouse. That's it. So yeah, that's where I realized, so he's from Roadhouse. Other than that, that was like my main experience with him. And I think he's got a unique look. It's not traditional, like, good looks. He's got a little, something to him that's kind of like left the center. And I think that's going to help him out.
And he's got that weird scar too, which for whatever reasons, I have never noticed before until now. I don't know.
It was prominent in this one. I didn't notice in Roadhouse. I don't know, maybe if the makeup, they did something with it to kind of hide it, but in this, it was kind of quite, more noticeable. It gives his looks a certain type of charm that's kind of like, kind of like a rugged, handsome thing that he'll have going for him. And I think as he gets older and ages up a little bit, he'll be good in some roles, man. Definitely.
Yeah. He is openly gay, as is another gentleman in this.
Yes.
Mike, do we want to
Harvey?
him? Yeah.
Yeah, we can go. I was going there next. Harvey, is it Gian or Gwen? I think
it's Gian. Yeah.
Harvey Gian. He definitely is a voice actor that I've heard his voice a lot. But I remember the first time I think I've seen him was in was it Werewolves Within? Is like the first film, and then he was. I understand he was in The Internship, but I don't remember his role. But his voice has popped up in The Wish, Puss in Boots, Mickey Mouse Funhouse. He's kind of all over. But I think, again, a lot of this cast is rooted in TV. I think he's most famous for What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show. So that's
funny. Yep. My God.
Yeah, he's so funny in that. And I love that all of this cast really has their roots in TV. as well as the director. And I think that this is a good springboard for all of them to kind of show that we're not just TV folks. You might recognize us, but this is a springboard to show we're movie stars and I'm a movie writer, movie director, not just the TV guy who did Atypical and the weird Mr. Pickle show on Adult Swim. So it's kind of cool that they've taken all these TV actors and kind of given them a time to shine on what I'm guessing is a modest budget movie. We've
10
got
million.
a couple more leads. Yeah, 10
just
million.
Just not Jack Quaid. How do you feel, Brian, about Harvey?
I love Harvey. What We Do in Shadows is probably one of my favorite modern TV shows. I watched the heck out of it. I have it on repeat to the point where, Sandy's like, oh, watching this again. My elevator pitch for it when I was trying to get people to watch it was like, it's like The Office with vampires. So, and it was, I love the movies, that Taika did, the original movie. And then when I saw that they were making it a series, I couldn't, it couldn't get on my TV fast enough to where I was like, okay. And the surprise was Harvey in it, Guillermo. I love, he plays such a great character, and the fact that they made him, spoiler alert, they made him, a Van Helsing, like, lineage and stuff. I thought it was just, that show just is the gift that keeps on giving, because there's so many different things that occur throughout the seasons and the cameos and the plot lines that they come back around to. And I mean, you got Matt Berry, who's like amazing. He's, one of my favorite comedic actors. But yeah, Harvey is like the heart and soul. Guillermo's the heart and soul of that show. I thought he did a great job, in this. So yeah, I'm definitely a big fan. I'd love to see more stuff.
I think from What We Do in the Shadows, my favorite part was like the lady is like, what kind of name is Jess? She's like, Jess. Whatever the name was. Anyway, I think we got maybe two more. It's a limited cast.
I'll hit two more. Yeah, I'll hit two more cast members. Next, we've got Megan Suri, again, someone who came from TV. Most people know her from either Fresh Off the Boat or Never Have I Ever. I first recognized her in a nice little horror thriller called It Lives Inside. She also had a small role in another Screen Life thriller called Missing. So she's also pops up in Poker Face on Peacock, and she does voice work as well. So I really do think that she's someone who is a bright spot from TV who's coming up. And I really do think that It Lives Inside, I know some people give it a hard time. I know one of your favorite podcasts ripped it to shreds.
Oh, I really hated that shit.
I liked It Lives Inside. I thought it was a lot of fun. But again,
I have to check that out.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was fun. But again, I think she's a good up and comer. Again, I like seeing these names coming from TV and etching their way up into feature films. The last person we're gonna talk on before we get to the main film or the main film itself is Rupert Friend. Rupert Friend plays kind of a Russian character, and he may or may not be kind of a villainish character. But anyway, he's kind of a character actor. He's showed up as villains or bad guys in other films. He was in Hitman Agent 47, The Death of Stalin. And then he also did some period pieces with Young Victoria and Pride and Prejudice. So he's a character actor that we've seen pop up in a lot of things. I actually saw him. He was at the cast and crew Q&A at the American Society of Magical Negroes screening at Sundance.
Yes.
So he was in that.
That's a recent film of his.
Yeah. So again, he's a character actor who pops up in a lot of stuff, and he was a lot of fun in this. So you might as well mention the last character actor, Mark Menchaca, shows up in a role. He always shows up as either a cop or a like biker baddie or something. He's a really good character actor, and he's in a lot of stuff, a lot of horror movies specifically.
I love Menchaca. He is also, I don't know who's luckier in this relationship. He married Lena Headey. Headey?
Yes.
Headey,
I think.
Cersei from Game of Thrones. And so I'm like, that's
Sarah
a couple
Connor.
I'd like to, anyway.
Yeah.
Hello. But going back to Rupert Friend, Hitman 47, I know people hated it. I love the shit out of that. And then Rupert was also in Homeland, fantastic role in Homeland. I think it was like a black bag CIA guy or whatever. And if you're interested in seeing him naked, he's in Cherie with Michelle Pfeiffer. Brian, before we go into our spoiler-free thoughts, Megan Surrey, Rupert Friend. Any thoughts on them as actors, actresses?
Yeah, Rupert Friend, I think he was doing in this film. I don't know if you guys have you ever heard of the musical artist Gunther?
Mm-mm.
It's a foreign music thing. And
Swedish singer.
Swedish, that's it, yeah.
Oh yeah.
He goes, "Ooh, you got to listen to it.
Yes.
It's hilarious. That song is hilarious." Like, so he looks exactly like him. And I used to work with a guy at my job that looked both like Sergey and Gunther that I played some of his music for, and it was hilarious because you couldn't get it out of your head.
Amazing.
So that's what struck me with this. But Mark Menchaca, I think, didn't you say on the last episode or the one before that you haven't seen The Outsider yet?
No, I have not.
Okay,
Is he really good in it?
You need to get on that ASAP.
Okay.
Because and we need to have many conversations about it. It's a great show. The whole cast, but especially Menchaca in it, is excellent. It's a Stephen King property, so that right there, sold me on it to begin with. But it is a fantastic show, start to finish. I
The
can't
Wicked
say
Lady's in that too, right?
Yes, she is, and that was one of. Yep, and that was I think the first place that I saw her, as an actor as well. So
Excellent.
but yeah, that's where I knew Menchaca from. So when he popped up in this, and it kind of got ruined in the trailer for it, and I was like, he's in this, but I'm like, oh, maybe not for too long. We'll see.
Not for too long.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely a plus. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Our spoiler-free section should probably be pretty brief because I don't think we can discuss this without really getting into it. But I'll start with Lucky Brian. Brian, what are your spoiler-free thoughts on Companion?
Yeah, so I like this little movie. It's a cool little film. It moves along at a nice breezy pace. It's got it's a little, morality tale. Kind of reminded me a little bit of an EC horror show type, Twilight Zone type thing. Because it's got the little twist, in it without, being a spoiler. But I think if you've seen the trailer, you kind of know what it is. But I'll keep it spoiler free for right now.
I'm so mad that
Yes,
that
the second
trailer
trailer.
ruined it because I truly believe that if this was sprung on an unsuspecting public, I mean, it's clearly designed to make you think a certain way, and then the revelation comes. But anyway, continue. What else do you think?
No, and I agree though. The second trailer killed it as far as the surprise. The first trailer was excellent. I thought it was a fantastic, teaser trailer. They should have just stuck with that because you had no idea what was going on. They just showed the one scene with her with the candle, and that was enough to kind of get you go, what the heck is going on? And I had no idea what the twist was. And after the second one, I kicked myself for watching it because I try to stay away from those things, but I was like, whatever. Because I didn't think they were going to play their hand. But it's a neat little film. It's a cruel little film too. That's got some nice little cruel moments in it where you're like, ooh, they're going there. I'm like, all right, perfect. But it's in such a way, and again, because of the comedy background, with the cast and the writing, on it, I think it doesn't feel overly cruel where you'd be like, oh, it kind of turns you off. It's great. So, and because, with Jack Quaid being in The Boys, I think it's got the same sensibilities as some of the episodes of The Boys have, where it's got that comedy with the, the gore mixed in, and it's just the right, 50-50 mix where it's enjoyable. So yeah, I'm definitely, big on the film. I'm glad I went to go see it in the movies. And we were all everybody that was in there was laughing their asses off. One gentleman that was sitting next to me, we were just kind of trading looks back and forth every time something happened, and kind of and we'd never met, obviously he's a complete stranger, but we're elbowing each other did you see that, or and at the end we were walking out of the theater, we had a nice little conversation on the way to the parking lot about how much we love the film and the different things that happened. So yeah,
nice,
great experience with it.
Excellent. So, Mike, I'm gonna go next, if that's okay. Again, I didn't realize that this was not directed by Zach Kreger. And again, I was really, really angry over that second trailer because it just gave everything away. And some will probably say, well, fool. The poster probably would have tipped it off also, but even the poster wouldn't have told me what was going on. And so I guess maybe the impact of the film a little bit was diminished by the fact that it was spoiled, but I appreciated the fact that they don't telegraph that as the movie is going on, and there is supposed to be this reveal. You're right about the fact that this is kind of cruel. I also think that if we talk about social commentary, that there's at least two different interpretations that you can give of this film. And I love the very mean-spirited second interpretation, which I'm going to get into with the spoiler section. There was also a second surprise that I probably should have seen coming, but anyway, there are parts of this movie that I think they could have sped up a little bit more. Like, there's just a lot of this sort of Wes Craven-esque, running into the house, running into the forest, running back into the house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it works for Wes Craven, but for something new like this, I think they could have tightened it up a little bit. But I liked the commentary about technology, if it were, and how we get sort of wrapped into those kind of things. I love the way that it was shot. I loved Jack Quaid in this, Mike. I thought he was great and wonderful. I thought everybody was really, really good in this. The only person that I thought was a weak link was Miss Megan Surrey. I think that it is by design, though, because she's like a lot of what happens here. You're meant to think one thing about a character, and then it turns out they're completely not what you thought. It doesn't reach Barbarian levels of holy cow, but it's for something produced by him, it's definitely in line with the tone of Barbarian, which I think is great. And it's a nifty little thriller, and I kind of wish it all the success. Sophie Thatcher is blowing me away. She reminds me a lot of, I think she's French, Matilda Lutz. She is the actress who was in Revenge by Coralie Fournier, who did The Substance. They have that sort of similar look, but they also have that intensity and that just ability to really just bring out the emotions and everything in their character. Thatcher was one of the high spots in Heretic. I did not take very kindly to Heretic. I don't know.
I've not seen that yet.
I found it kind of as a Trump allegory. I saw it as a Trump allegory, but anyway, it is what it is. I was a little disappointed by that, but Sophie Thatcher, she is definitely somebody to look out for. She is just brilliant in this. And I know it's not going to get her an Oscar or anything like that, but the Saturn Awards are our genre awards. I think she deserves a Saturn for this. So, Mike, your thoughts?
So I love a good dark comedy, and this hit the nail on the head. This was a deliciously brutal dark comedy. Even though it's not similar, it reminded me of Very Bad Things, where it's a group of friends, they get together and things just keep going and going. It's set off by a death, and then things get going. And of course, there's twists and there's turns. Going back to Surrey's character, I think her character itself is just unlikable, and maybe that's by design. She's completely unlikable, and maybe that's why you were so turned off. And again, I talk bad on Meg Ryan's kid just because he gets away with just a smile. It's like he has this quirky little smile to him that literally looks like a weird morph if you took both his parents into one, and he just. So much of what he does acting wise is based off that smile. Again, that goes back to that one note, that charming but kind of devilish smile can only do so much for me. But again, I had a blast with this. It's everything that I love: the shocks, the twists, the turns, the gore, the comedy, the plot that just keeps twisting on top of itself. And I like that, like some of the films like Upgrade, that it takes a near future concept and uses it to kind of both be fun and entertaining as a fast-paced, like thrilling little dark comedy action type of thing, but also is rooted in some real, concepts and ideas that we need to be thinking about. So, I mean, also going back to things, I lucky you told me not to watch the second trailer. I didn't watch it. So my mind went in thinking it was one thing, which we'll directly get into the spoilers. And it completely wasn't that. So I was lucky. I got completely bombarded and shocked by the twist.
Awesome.
So again, I'm going to say that it's a definite spoiler-free. Watch this. For me, it's a high point out of everything we've watched for the show. I think this is my favorite of the 3 that we've done so far this season. I think this is, again, January is usually a dearth of nothing. But we have proven with the now 3 films we've reviewed from this month that January's kind of been hot. We've had some good films. I mean, Wolfman probably the weakest of what we've viewed, but for genre movie January, I think between Presents and this, we've got some pretty good releases.
I was gonna say not only hot, but like date rapey hot. This is the second movie that features like weirdo date rapey stuff. So anyway, not that we should giggle about that, but I'm just saying it's odd that like this sort of thing is cropping up, what have you.
Yeah,
but
unusual through line.
Yeah, very, very weird. Yeah, it's a watch for me as well. Shall we segue to spoilers? So if you have not seen Companion, you don't want to spoil it, you're definitely going to want to check out. We hope you'll still stick around for our pluses. I'm going to defer my plus for the 2 of you guys, but so if you haven't seen Companion, we're going to spoil it. We're going to go 20 minutes into the future, to borrow a term from Max Headroom, beloved Max Headroom, and we're going to spoil it in 3, 2, 1. WillDABeast, start off. What do you got?
Well, I thought we were getting a fucking vampire movie. But we did not get a vampire movie. I thought Companion, the white eyes, the flame scene, I thought we were getting a vampire movie the whole time. And we did not.
Something supernatural.
We got a Stepford Wives twist, and, be careful with AI, especially if you use them as sexual partners. They might come back and bite you in the ass. That's what we ended up getting. Be careful with how we use technology and the way that things are going, because technology is becoming sentient beings that can actually come up and bite us in the ass. Every single day, technology is coming and taking people's lives, taking I mean, you might do something online and technology and the algorithms are going to show it everywhere. So you've got to be careful with how you use and abuse technology. I had a blast with that twist. It did catch me. I did not see it coming.
Definitely good on catching that AI thing, because I thought initially that this was going to, sort of be along the lines of Barbarian and its sort of feminist message, which is women are often controlled, they're often abused, they're often, gaslit into a certain situation, and then obviously finding out that it's a robot. They call it a fuck bot, basically, like a in a way, a living fleshlight, if you will. Sorry, I was waiting for somebody to use that term and they didn't. And I was like, I'm like, why not? So definitely that's there. Like J.G. Ballard would absolutely eat this up. J.G. Ballard wrote like Drowned World and Crash, because he always wrote about the fact that, we have to be careful about merging with technology, right? And so you take this extension of essentially a sex toy that can become your companion, your date, and act like a human and cry and do all of these things, but that they're not really human. And so it was weird. Top of mind, if you had said after watching this that I was going to think about Blade Runner and replicants, I would have told you you're effing crazy. This is from the makers of Barbarian. Brian, on the AI theme, do you think the movie did that well?
Yeah, for a number of reasons. So this linked to so many different films. You're saying that like Blade Runner and stuff, but I would not expecting iFuckBot.
Yes, exactly. Or right? like her, just more sexual, right?
Sure. So it's like, and
iFuckBot. I love that. I love it.
So from the teaser trailer, so Mike, you thought vampire when you were watching, the film. I thought, okay, it's going to be a possession flick or something, and that it's going to be something where instead of having like a sex bot, he was doing something with a possessed, girlfriend. to where they were still having relations or whatever, but there's this demonic presence that's in there, and that's when they get extra freaky or some kind of weird thing. That's the direction I thought it was going in from the teaser. But yeah, so as far as the technology thing, yeah, it definitely touched on similar themes to like Blade Runner with replicants and things. And if you're thinking about that, the other two films that came to mind was, first I go, is this like in the same universe as Megan? And is this further down the road? Like, is
it's totally
sequel? Because I could see that, like, if they, they're making a sequel to Megan, I'm actually curious to see how similar it would be to this film. Because if they're going to go ahead.
Brian, did you ever check out Subservience with Megan Fox?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So it's like,
so that Subservience did what I thought Megan was going to do, which was get all jiggy with a fuckbot.
Yeah.
And I loved Subservience.
Yeah. So, and it's like, so there's a lot of films that are like touching on these, themes, which I think, because it's definitely relevant. I mean, I watched 60 Minutes just put out a video where the interviewer from 60 Minutes was interviewing the AI robot and asking it questions, and it was talking about having emotions, and some of the emotions that it has, one of it was anger and confusion, and some of the responses are like, why the hell would you program anger and confusion as emotions that a robot would have? But again, it also, watching this made me think about Asimov's laws of robotics and like how you program, and that they're not programmed to, they can't hurt humans. My wife works in the tech field, so it's a constant battle with AI and figuring out like where it's going next and how they utilize it and how much control you give it. So the last film that I thought it was an homage to definitely was the end where she's in the shower. I'm like, oh, this is a Terminator prequel. Like, this is what a Terminator prequel should be. And it was definitely an homage to the Arnie scene from T2 with taking this, his arm off and showing the thing. It was like, almost a shot for shot, recreation of that.
Oh yeah.
Which I thought was cool. And then I also, another little Terminator connection is, we mentioned that Mark Menchaca is, married to Lena Headey, who was Sarah Connor in the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Yes.
So, and I could see this same thing with the Terminator from that show. It was very similar to the main character Iris in her mannerisms and the way that she was. So it made me think of that as well, even though it's not a film. The show, it's still in the Terminator universe. Love that show. Should have kept going. But yeah, so this thing had a lot going for it. The kills were just nasty enough that you were like, all right, it's giving you what you want in that department as well. So it's like not overly gory, but just gory enough where you're like, all right, this is great. Yeah, and I love, all the actors and everything that were in it. Like, I like the twist with whatchamacallit, Patrick as well.
That was the second twist that I was a little surprised by. That he in fact was also a robot as well.
Yeah.
Mike, what did you think about that twist with Patrick?
I liked it. I liked all of the twists, because I thought we were going for a feminist tale, but then
that's what I thought too.
But then when we started to see, oh my gosh, it also Gage's a robot, and then I loved how he turned into the evil Terminator, going back to that when he revved his aggression all the way to the top, and he all of a sudden started turning into the evil Terminator. I loved that. He was just freaking a badass. Again, this is going to be his role that shoots his stock way up, because him as a badass fucking bot killer is just so damn cool.
And that's the other homage. He's the cop, the evil cop.
Yeah, basically. But so the thing that I think, the other thing, because we've talked about AI too, was just I guess another note about how AI can be dangerous, but like Patrick realized, he was like, I pieced it together over the years. I'm a robot or whatever. And that kind of awareness is scary. It is scary. And it dovetails with the ending where, Iris is driving away and she's got the robot hand and she waves to another robot, and the robot realizes, oh, she's like me. and then you just you jump ahead like the robot apocalypse is upon us at this time. So it's funny you mentioned that. I thought it was going to be feminist too, and you can certainly read it that way as well. But again, with them being AI, I think it's not really feminist because they're not really humans, right? But the other interpretation of this that I absolutely loved is this is basically an indictment of incel culture, right? Because Quaid says, Jack Quaid says something earlier like, all the women I want to date they leave me because they don't, want to do the things that I want to do, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it just was like, oh my God, you are a fucking incel. You live in your apartment by yourself. You are a keyboard warrior. You sort of like look at the world only through your lens. And so you've got a perfect fuckbot to make yours or whatever. And I thought that was absolutely amazing. I'm sure it's going to go over the heads of the people it's designed to sort of insult, people who may or may not have elected our newest president. But I'm just saying, I love the mean spiritedness of that. Did anybody else? Did you guys get that whole like indictment of incel culture?
The small dick line as well. He's a small dick fuck boy who is just a basic piece of shit. That's what he was painted out as. But I also liked how it went even deeper because the gay relationship in it was he was actually genuinely in love, and they were genuinely in love with each other. And I see people who are in love with their computers, with the personas, the avatars that they're communicating with. They fall in love with that avatar and that voice behind it, whether it's a real human. And now we're finding out that some of these might even be AI that our kids are playing with. So again, it's easy for us in this generation for us to get emotionally attached to electronics and robotics and AI. So I also liked that we got the two different sides, the fuck boy and then the one who was genuinely in love with the robot.
Love, yeah. Or even just on a basic level, thank you, Josh's car, or whatever, it's this whole, it was great. I think it was also interesting that they don't entirely tell you the Russian guy's background. Like, we don't even really know what's going on, but I love that we also see the other side, which is he was low tech. He's got a lake house. All his money is in his safe, right? I don't think you ever see him touch a gadget the entire thing, other than attempting to date rape the gadget of Iris, right? So I liked the thought pattern that Drew Hancock had in putting some of this stuff. Brian, what did you think about that?
Yeah, no, I thought that was I did definitely pick up, like, he doesn't have anything. He's almost like a survivalist. He's in the middle of the woods.
Like off the grid, right?
Yeah, he's like, I pay for all this, India, own all land around me. Don't own land, all the land around.
I own all land around me.
Yeah, love it. That's great. So, and it's, you're meant to think, and again, he is, he was definitely a shitbag because he's trying to take advantage, but he knows that she's a robot. So that's also playing with your mental thing where it's like, well, is this wrong? I mean, he even says, "Oh, it's okay. It's what you're made for." Like, and
right.
So
that's great. It's perfect.
Your accent's great.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm 100% Polish, so I get there. His neighbor, right?
The Slavics. Got it.
Like this all time. I'll do entire review like this if you want me to. It's no problem. I'll do it. It's okay. So instead of get talked to robot, everything was a little weird, and it's this okay. So it messed with you, where you're going, I don't know if I feel weird about this or if that's okay, and it's kind of messed up that but you're feeling for her emotions because she's coming into her own and realizing her sentience, and then I think that's the great thing about the writing in this, that it's making you feel for this character that's a robot, but you're going, oh, is she just a robot? Is she an actual, person? May not be human, but she's, a person. So the same way that we feel for things that, Mike was saying, like, we give our cars names. We give our computer. We're talking about giving our computers names. We give this, identity to these things that we start to form relationships with. When things go wrong, you get mad at your computer, like today, earlier today. You're going to talk to it and be like, "Stupid computer, what do you?" Well, what if your computer talked back and goes, I'm sorry, I'm not really stupid. I'm just not feeling like running today. I need a break.
Right.
And that's where she's coming from. So it did speak to a lot of things that I think we're going to deal with in the very near future. And it's super smart about this, script. And with Sergey going back to it and finding out that he wasn't an arms dealer or whatever, and that he's just this guy who was smart and he had a sod farm, and that's why I was like, oh, we just killed a dirt farmer? Like, what the heck? Like,
but again, like, his money was in something basic, like agriculture versus like technology. And it turns out that, the Megan Suri character, you're right, Mike, I did not like her character. And she was like, well, I never really said what he did. Like, you filled in that he was a gangster, so I just wanted the money or whatever.
They start introducing more and more levels of who's the bigger shitbag. You know what I mean? Because you think, okay, it's going to be, Josh. He's an asshole, from the door, and then you're going, okay, well, maybe Sergey is. Well, is he really? And then you're like, oh no, she's the real dirtbag. And it's like you just keep upping the level of shittiness with all these people. And I mean, that's what makes their comeuppance, even more enjoyable, which again goes back to the whole like EC horror, Tales from the Crypt, Twilight Zone, thing where you want to see these people get their comeuppance. So it makes it that much more enjoyable when they do. So yeah, definitely is super smart that way.
This is where I have to, especially that scene, the date rape scene with Sergey. This is where I have to, spank the studio, because up until that point, we hear things. If you didn't know she was a robot, you hear things like, I'm not made that way, which we talk about with our emotions, like oh no, it's what's the phrase that people say now? I don't have the bandwidth to go through, right? And we're even kind of like taking on some of that language as well. And so up until that point, we don't know she's a robot, and he's coming onto her, and he's got the Russian thing. So his English is not so great, but he's like, oh, this is what you're designed for. Like, but if you had never known that, you would think women are designed to have babies. Women are designed to fuck. Women are designed to be controlled. And so again, studio, what the fuck were you thinking by ruining it with that trailer? I'm so angry. The other thing I wanted to also point out was that, so since a lot of this is really about the AI, it does give us a glimpse of hope for the future, because later in the film, these techs show up, and one of the techs gets killed. There's an Asian Indian tech who survives, and he basically gives Iris her freedom as a sentient being. And so there is also this hope that, like, if we recognize technology is good and we frame it in the right way, it can be this wonderful, wonderful thing for me. So it was weird. I walked out of the theater and I was like, guess I shouldn't yell at my computer or my toaster when it you just never know, or whatever. But, Mike, any further thoughts about like the film and some of the gore? First of all, I don't think a corkscrew automated thing like that operates that way. I think it doesn't stop before it went.
That's like a high-powered corkscrew. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow, where can I get one of those?
Yep.
Well, we have to get a little critical. Like, there's a couple things, as much as we all like it, there's a couple things I want to point out.
Okay.
I felt like the subplot of them taking the money is just it wasn't necessary. It was a purpose to get them together. But again, it wasn't important. And I hated the way that they started the film teleporting. This is him, and I like him until I killed him. I hate when films do that, when they teleport the ending like that.
Yeah. Well, remember how I always say hokily, everything you need to know at the beginning of the movie. It was showed to you in the beginning of the movie. But then when they bookend it with that, I was like, then why did you have it in the beginning? Like, we just didn't need it.
It's almost like the studio said, let's add that little voiceover in there. Again, it felt like studio fuckery. It
Interference,
felt like
yeah.
With the second trailer where they're like, oh, the audience isn't going to get this enough. Again, studios, we're not dumb. We know people who love movies can put 1 + 1 together and realize it's 2. We don't need things telegraphed and spoken to us like that. So those are the couple flaws. But again, I put this up there with like Upgrade, with some of the greater like dark comedy thrillers that have a little tiny futuristic bend. I thought that it's a ton of fun. I can't recommend it enough. I think that, and if you look online, I mean, it's pretty much across the board. People are loving it. People who are watching it are loving it. I've heard very, very few negative things. I think the RT score is high and Metacritic scores are high. People are really eating this up. Of course, I think it was making 8 to 10 million against Dogman in a dead January. I think it's pretty commendable, given the time of year and.
But Mike, they're even saying Jack Quaid is good in this.
He's okay. He is okay. He is okay, but it's the Nepo baby thing. And again, he kind of is up there with, I don't like Timothy Chalamet, that Shamalama Ding Dong. I don't like Timothy Chalamet that much either. But
wait, who's he related to?
Look it up. I don't want to get into details.
Okay.
He supposedly is a Nepo baby too. And maybe it's just a problem I have with nepotism. I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with Trump and everything going on.
What about Dakota Johnson, Madam Web? Anyway, Brian, any other further thoughts about this? I will also add, I think another flaw is, again, that middle section, they could have tightened this up and it could have had a big wallop, right? But any other further thoughts about the film?
Yeah, I agree though. The center was a little bit like kind of like a dog chasing its own tail for a while. They could have, cleaned it up. Same thing, subplot with the money. It's just an excuse. I mean, it's just a contrivance to, but again, if they didn't really have that in there. I think the only thing that did was just show how shitty, the girlfriend was to Sergey. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing it kind of served. But again, I think they made too much of it. They kept going back like, all right, you take this, you take that. I mean, it did give them also with Eli his excuse to go, okay, you're going to split it, 3 ways, no 4 ways. So it kind of gave a little more, thing to do the twist with Patrick, with Gage's character. So that's the only thing I think that's why they put it in there. But again, it wasn't a strong enough element. They could have taken it out and, but no, overall, I think it's good. I mean, this stands up there with a lot of the good, AI robot flicks. Another one that like I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, and it was like Ex Machina is another one. With, Oscar Isaac, that like this, gave me elements of, and I think, I just love this type of movie. I would have liked it to be more surprised without the trailer ruining it. But again, so Mike, I envy you for not seeing that second trailer.
Yeah. The other point that I think I wanted to also bring up now that we've been discussing this is Megan Suri mistreating Sergey, basically. I think that's to show that we get so attached and wrapped up with our technology and our computers that we are now coming to expect the same of our human counterparts, right? Why can't you just run the sequence like I want you to? Because I'm a human being, right? And so we hear from her, he was a bad boyfriend, this and that, but like, he wasn't so bad at the dinner table, right? And so she's, again, it's like, I don't know.
Well, let's not forget he was married. He has a wife.
Well, that too. But
so
you know what?
She
happily got on that Russian, which I don't know. I would too. Because I love me some Russians. Anyway.
And overall, lastly, is that I think even if you take the AI thing out of it, overall, it's an allegory of let's just treat each other the way we want to be treated type thing. So I think if and again, I think in today's world, like you don't look at everybody else as an other. And I think that's the problem, nowadays, is that for various reasons, whether it's, political or socioeconomic reasons, as we tend to look outside our doors at everybody as others instead of we're all humans, we're all, people that should get along. Same thing with this, like, don't look at the AI as another, see it as an equal and treat it how you want to be treated. So I think that's a good allegory for how we should all treat each other, not to get too kumbaya and, let's hug it out. But that I think, it's an important, underlining message that the film has that, I think as much as it insults the Nepo babies, it also wants us all to, get along.
And the incels. Yeah, we should use technology as an extension of ourselves versus a replacement for human contact. So we love it. Drew Hancock, thank you. We're looking for the next one. I think it's a watch for all of us. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. We have some pluses. I'm going to defer mine. Brian, I'm going to start with you. What's your plus for this episode?
Oh, goodness. My pluses. So I would say that well, I already did my recommend for Ocean, so I can't use that as my plus earlier because I love this. But my plus, I'm gonna give a plus to one of my local businesses. My local comic book shop is called Final Boss. They are located in Lawrence, New Jersey. It's right outside of Princeton. So they are an awesome shop. The owner's name is Floyd. Griffin is one of the, head workers there. They go hand in hand. They're an awesome team. If you are in New Jersey, or even if you're not in New Jersey, look them up online. They're on, Instagram, at Final Boss Comics. They will take care of you. They are genuine, wonderful guys that, are very community driven. They help out. They do reading stuff for like kids, to bring them, out to get kids into reading through comics. They're very knowledgeable. They have, little events too. Like they just did signing events for, the writers. So they support the community. They support writers and artists for, the comics. They, if you're a comic fan, they will, welcome you in with open arms, and you won't be just, another customer. It's like you're part of the Final Boss family. So I can't plus them enough. I just want to take the opportunity to give them their shout outs and give them their flowers because they deserve it.
I think that's wonderful. Floyd Griffin, awesome. Hats off to you. I know that my brother collected comic books, and I remember it was called Alternate Worlds, and the guy had used to work at Jeppy's, and then he started his own comic store. It is like family. They get to know you. They get to know your tastes, right? You show up. I showed up with like an Ambush Bug comic, and they're like, hey, you should check out, da-da-da or whatever, or do you want me to hold the next Ambush Bug for you or whatever? So Final Boss Comics and Games is the official title. It is in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. You can find them at finalbosscomics.com. I believe they have a blog. They talk about new releases, things like that. Yeah, sounds great. Awesome. Mike, you got a plus?
Well, my plus comes because if you know me, and I know we've talked a little bit, I've been Sundancing. This is my 23rd film festival. And if you Sundance, that means you're doing 20 to 30 films in about a 9 to 10 day spree. And I work full time as well. So I'm working 45 hours, and then I'm doing 5 to 6 hours a night in movies. I don't get a lot of time to eat. It's January. We all get a health conscious re-kick. I've kind of been on a battle for the last 6-7 years of just trying to get myself healthy. And I've lost about 18 pounds this month alone, just from changing my diet, getting back in place. Luckily, I have a bodybuilder wife that really is an inspiration for me. But one of the things that has really helped me like keep myself sustained during movies, so I'm not filling myself with popcorn, is the G2G bar. Ooh. I don't know if you can see that. The G2G protein bar is it comes in multiple flavors. I like the peanut butter chocolate chip, as well as this is the oatmeal almond. The nice thing about the G2G is its main ingredients is usually nut butter. It's a minimally processed protein bar. Instead of being number one, isolate whey protein and everything else. There's whey protein in here, but it's mainly a nut bar. So you're getting a lot of nuts and whole oils. It's not just a high protein bar. It's more of a meal replacement at about 300 calories. So if you're on the go and you need a nice little lunch or a good, breakfast or dinner on the go, the G2G bar is the way to go. You can get them at Costco's, online. I think it's a local Utah company, but they're kind of branching out everywhere. So if you do indeed do protein bars, this is a good option. Not a whole lot of added sugars. Again, minimal process. It's a small plant here in Utah that does all the processing. And yeah, so I recommend the G2G bars if you're on the go and you need something for a quick pick me up for a good 300 calories.
I tried the new David bar, like the Michelangelo statue. I also ate like 3 of them, and it turned like my number 2s into like red dyed stuff. Anyway, I wouldn't recommend that. It also does not taste so great. But what is the taste like for this? I mean, I know you probably had a ton of protein bars, right?
It tastes like a nut butter, which is nice. It's a thicker, nut butter. So if you like peanut butter, almond butter, you can choose between their almond line or their peanut line. They both are made with 100%, real natural nuts. So that is the basis, more nuts but there is whey protein to help keep the protein up. But you can get bloated easily if you're eating just a straight out whey protein. So it's nice to have the legume in there. And the nice thing about the nuts is I could go through 2 films in a row before I start to get hungry. So it does keep you satiated for 300 calories for a good 4 to 5 hours. So again, if you're either working out or you're binging a film festival, the G2G bar is a good thing to go to.
I love it. So, anyone interested? Yes, Costco. I think you can also get it on Amazon. We have the letter G, to the number G, letter, bar.com.
Yep.
And check this out. 18 grams of protein. Wow. Nice. Certified gluten-free. Yeah, it sounds fantastic. And I may start getting this.
All the bodybuilders use them locally. So if you're into bodybuilding, or even if you're not, again, they're a good thing to have around. So, and it's a local
nice
Utah company.
Yeah,
nice
local, man. That's awesome.
Very nice. You both went local with your pluses. This is great. This is great. All right. So what are we doing next week? I have no idea.
I don't think we've talked, but maybe
it's going to be Love Hurts, or there's another horror film, genre film, maybe.
I think maybe we should.
Brian, what was the other choice that we were?
Hard Eyes?
Hard Eyes. Oh, gosh, that would be good too. We got to talk.
Okay. All right. So we're going to do our little pod roll here. These are other podcasts that you may enjoy. A lot of them are audio. I think the only other video YouTube podcast like us is And Now for Something a Little Bit Different with John Horgan. Mike, you're going to be on there again?
Yeah, we're doing an animated thing sometime in February. I think I'm going to do, I can't remember if we're doing Robot Dreams or Fella Day, one of the two, but I think we're doing Robot Dreams.
Nice. You'll definitely love Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema. We mentioned that. Brian, you guessed it on there at some point. What did you guys review?
We did Phantom of the Opera. Robert Englund was the last one that
very cool.
We did. Yeah.
And the very gorgeous Jill Sholin. She was the daughter in Stepfather. She was also in Popcorn. I was hoping her career would just break out, and then it didn't. But I mean, she's still a working act. I mean, she was a working actress up until then. Before I do the rest of the pod roll, though, Brian, you are called Luck Key Brian, and there's a reason behind this. Do you want to just let our listeners, viewers know really quickly about what Luck Key is?
Yeah. So Lucky Finds is my Instagram. I'm a comic reseller. Pretty much I buy and, flip books. I also collect comics. That's why, I'm at a comic shop on a regular basis. But it's Lucky Finds _comics on Instagram. And pretty much, I post stuff about comics. It's not just buying and selling, but I'll post, stuff that I found around that I was lucky enough to find, digging through the long boxes at everywhere, flea markets, garage sales, everywhere. So I love doing dived for comics because it's just something that was my first job, and I've loved it ever since I was a kid. So yeah, that's what the lucky part. And again, it's LUCK and then KEY finds _ comics. So yeah, come find me, and yeah, if you love comics, and we'll talk some comics, man.
And you might be
Lucky.
Actually, can I ask you, are you still doing, because you used to announce like the comic and then the drop, and then you would say first person to message me.
Oh yeah, so
are you still doing that?
Yeah, so I would have basically whether it be claim sales. I was doing them on Instagram. I'm doing more now. There's Facebook groups and stuff that I'm selling through, just because it's a little bit easier to manage, and you can post through the threads in a sales post a little bit easier instead of doing an individual post on Instagram for each book.
Nice.
It's easier to just do like threads. So, but yeah, I'm always like buying and selling on there. So if anybody's looking for books, like specific books, hit me up. I've probably got well over 30,000 comics in my collection. At any given time. Yeah. So, and that's not my PC. That's just what I have in inventory that I'm going through. So yeah.
Wow.
Sandy loves that. Most of them are, yeah, I've got them all stored up. I've got rack shelving with everything, and it's all alphabetized, just like my and along with my 4,000 movies that I have. Then I have the comics. So
wow.
Yeah, my
me being shook.
Yeah. My luckily I have a nice finished basement where I can keep everything. I get the whole downstairs, Sandy gets the upstairs, and this way we all each have our thing. Although she is taking over because she collects books as well, like novels, and she reads them like I read comics. So she'll go through a book or two a week. So she's doing her collectible books. I think there was one Onyx Storm that just came out, which is part of the she's gonna kill me for this. It's about dragons. It just dropped I think last week, but like it was a huge thing there. Yeah.
You got a little media kingdom growing over there in New Jersey. Leave some space for the state, okay? So is your Facebook link on your Instagram page so that people can then check out your claim sales, or how they find you on Facebooks?
Facebook, I'm just under my name, Brian Stevens.
Okay.
So just find me on there. You can look me up. I'm in New Jersey, but yeah, if you go on my Instagram and then you message me on there, I can link you to whenever I have sales, because on Facebook, I usually try to do 1 or 2 sales a week.
Nice. 30,000 people, 30,000. Help move these things. Move these things. All right. So the rest of our pod roll, if you love us, Gentleman's Guide, Not a Bomb, Night of the Living podcast, Wild Dream podcast. We mentioned a podcast that savaged It Lives Inside. That was the podcast. Death by DVD, Raiders of the Podcast, Backlook Cinema, Caliber 9 from Outer Space, Feminine Critique. And then again, this is a back catalog of podcasts that aren't really putting out new material, but it's great stuff, great information. Married with Clickers, VHS Files, Silva and Gold, Cult of Muscle, Friends with Cinefits, that's MC's podcast as well. Parting thoughts, Mike?
I just really enjoyed the film, and if you're out there doing film festivals, keep yourself hydrated.
Yes, and
people are passing out.
Support film festivals, support exhibition, and don't forget, folks, be kind, be vulnerable, be open. That's where the art is. We'll see you guys next week.